Alright, so this is gonna be another movie review. This one's called The Human Monster 1940. I'm giving this one 5 out of 5 stars. I love this flick. This is gonna be another redo of a review of mine that YouTube was kind enough to censor when I originally saw this. I remember loving this flick when I saw it, though. So I'll go with 5 out of 5 stars with quite a bit of confidence here. The Dark Eyes of London, U.S. title The Human Monster, is a 1939 British horror film produced by John Argyle and directed by Walter Summers and starring Bela Lugosi, Hugh Williams, and Greta Gent. The film is an adaptation of a 1924 novel of the same name by Edgar Wallace. The film is about a scientist named Dr. Arloff who commits a series of murders for insurance money while periodically disguising himself as a blind manager of a charity to further his scheme. In London, Dr. Arloff turns a life insurance agency where he runs a life insurance agency where he loans money on his customers' policies. Scotland Yard begins finding bodies in the Thames River, all of them insured by Arloff, with the Dearborn Home for the Blind as their sole beneficiary. This charity home, which Arloff sponsors and serves as its medical advisor, is located in a dilapidated former warehouse abutting the Thames. One of the dead men has a daughter named Diane, for whom Arloff obtains employment at the home as a seeing person secretary to the soft-spoken, also blind Dearborn. Suspicions begin to arise surrounding Dearborn and Arloff in relation to the dead bodies, and it becomes clear to the audience that Dearborn is really Arloff, disguising both his face and voice. After Diane finds one of her father's cufflinks at the home, Arloff sends his henchman Jake, a deformed blind resident of the home, to kill Diane, who has found out too much about them, but she eludes him with the help of the young police inspector on the case. Confronted by Diane, Dearborn removes his disguise to show himself as Arloff. He carries her to the warehouse loft where he has been killing his victims by dumping them into a vat of river water charged with electricity. He puts her in a straitjacket and he calls for Jake to finish the job of killing her in like manner. Jake refuses, as he has found out that Arloff has sadistically deafened his one friend, also blind, before killing him. Jake turns on Arloff. Arloff shoots Jake, but Jake perseveres, captures Arloff, and throws him out of the loading door to sink him in the river mudflats below. Production began on The Dark Eyes of London in 1938. Actor Bela Lugosi sailed to England to star in the film's dual role of Dr. Arloff and Professor Dearborn. The original novel has two Arloff characters, but the film's script combined them into one. When portraying the role of Dearborn, Lugosi's voice is dubbed by O.B. Clarence. It was made at Wellwyn Studios with sets designed by the art director Duncan Sutherland. The day after Lugosi arrived on set, shooting began and lasted 11 days. Production ended on the film in 1939. The final scene involving Arloff's demise was difficult to film. A 7-foot deep tank was filled with a concoction to resemble river mud. A member of the crew was lowered into the mess with a chain that allowed him to escape easily if he were sucked under. It is intercut with a shot of Lugosi's head sinking, but Lugosi did not submerge. Weights had to be tied to Lugosi's ankle to keep his body sunk. The film was released in the UK in October 1939. In the UK, The Dark Eyes of London was the first British film to receive the H rating and the last horror film to receive the rating. The H rating was introduced in 1933 by the British Board of Film Censors, BBFC, for films labeled horrific, for any films likely to frighten or horrify children under the age of 16. So not only did my original The Human Monster movie review get censored, but the actual film got censored in the UK. The Dark Eyes of London was released in the United States under the title The Human Monster by Monogram Pictures in March 1940. That's why I put the 1940 date. If you look on YouTube, everything says 1939 because that's when it came out in Great Britain, UK area. Let's see. Production company Argyle Film, distributed by ABPC. Release date October 1939 in the UK. Running time 76 minutes. Country UK and language English. So this is going to be another great Poverty Row Monogram Pictures. Low budget film. One of the smaller studios, I guess you could say. The Monthly Film Bulletin wrote, an excellent melodrama which cleverly does not depend only on gruesome makeup, but succeeds by appealing to the nerves and imagination, not for the timid or oversensitive, but well constructed and well acted. Bela Lugosi adds much to the eerie atmosphere, and Hugh Williams, as a keen young inspector, is comfortably reassuring. Variety wrote, too much is made of the scenes where the blind are shown at work, and the anticlimax is too heavily prolonged after the story apparently is concluded. Dialogue is not too weighty, and attempts at witty repartee are painful. Despite these flaws and the tendency to elaborate too much early in the vehicle, director Walter Summers has done surprisingly well to hold suspense. Lugosi acts with more relish than in recent times on the screen. All right. Let's see what IMDb says. My pot roast is almost done. Been waiting all morning for this. All right. The Human Monster, original title The Dark Eyes of London, 1939, approved. 1 hour, 13 minutes. The IMDb rating is pretty decent, 5.7 out of 10. Not bad. Not great, but not bad. 1,600 ratings. So this is quite prolific. More like this, Mark of the Vampire, the man they could not hang, the monster and the girl, and the invisible ray. Is the invisible ray with Boris Karloff? I gotta look those up and see if I can get those. The first British horror movie to be rated H for horrific, which was brought in by the British Board of Film Censors in 1933 for films that were deemed too horrific for children under 16 to see after the early 30s. Universal Horrors shocked audiences. Holt tells the laboratory technicians that he wants to see the prints of the photograph, but is then given a negative to examine. Quotes Diana Stewart, I can't. Detective Inspector Larry Holt, you'll dare. I've got to have sufficient proof that Dr. Orloff is a murderer and your father was the last victim. When re-released theatrically in the UK in 1949, the BFC made cuts to secure an A rating. All cuts were waived in 1953 when the film was re-released theatrically with an X certificate, and later in 1993 when released with the PG certificate for home video. This is featured in Creature Features, Horror Hotel and the Human Monster from 1971. The old Creature Feature show that I used to watch late at night on Saturdays with the cigar chomping dude and his in his rocking chair. All right. Here's a review on IMDb. Telepinus 525. It's dated February 27, 2005. And it gets a little bit higher, 6 out of 10, a little bit higher than the average rating. I'm rating it much higher, of course, because we love Bela Lugosi on this channel. The title of the review on IMDb is Vintage Creeps from a Long Ago Era. I can't help it. I like this film. Terribly subjective, I know, but this film is an adaptation of an Edgar Wallace novel, like his Green Archer, The Four Just Men, and many, many others, almost all of which have a near Byzantine plot structure amidst the thrills and chills a la Sax Rome's Fu Manchu stories. They were written in a totally different day and age for a different audience. That a great many more were adopted for film in Europe should give you an idea of their popularity. Like many Wallace's tales, there are dark deeds abounding, naturally having to do with financial gain via insurance, fraud, and murder, and the evil ringleader sitting at the center of it all, dispatching his evil minions to do his bidding while cloaked in the disguise of almost perfect respectability. If you think about it, the big difference structurally between this and other films like Humphrey Bogart's The Enforcer and Brando's The Godfather is that the audience already knows who's doing the killing. American audiences, even today, just don't buy a racketeer being totally anonymous, even to the cops. However, if someone were to successfully adopt Forrest Evers' takeover for the big screen, it might change a lot of people's minds. As for me, too, Don Vito Corleone's hitman, Luca Brasi, doesn't hold a candle to the terrifying henchman, Blind Jake. Yes, I like this film. Seen in the proper spirit, it should creep you out, too. It did. And YouTube creeped me out with their continual censorship. They don't put strikes on my channel anymore. They just figure, oh, you weren't aware of our policy back then, so we're going to lighten up our censorship and be nice. These people are sick. I should just transfer everything to Rumble. If YouTube hadn't abandoned the feature that automatically transfers all your videos to Rumble, I would have done it a long time ago. To hell with these censorship people. They stink heaven high. And they do it for no good reason either, I might add. Oh, these people are sick. They're completely deranged. Anyway, That's the end of my review. I went down my list before, and right now I'm on how to make a doll. So we'll get the pot roast out in about 11 and a half minutes, I guess. We'll start munching on that, and we'll continue down our road. Might be able to get 4 reviews in today, but I'm not exactly holding my breath. The pace I'm going. Laters.